Maybe you need a hat. Maybe you need a hat. So, welcome back to the Brand Doctors. You can almost consider this like a season 2 because we've been doing it for 31 episodes now. This is 31st. And it's interesting because we've talked a lot about tools. Ironically, I feel like the last 12 episodes, we've barely touched on tools, which is part of the reason why we started this show in the first place.
Yeah. This is, and I mean, I think it's almost been a year, right? We started
Oh, man.
probably
Yeah.
September-ish.
Yeah.
You were at Podcast Fest
Movement. Yeah.
Movement in August. It's one of those names put together. And so, yeah, this is good. I feel good. And what have you been up to? Where are we going with this? Do you want to do tools today? What are you feeling?
First off, we needed to catch up, I think, just publicly so people can know what we're working on. And I have a lot of things that I've been doing as a creator and for my content brand that this channel is on. And then there was the topic I mentioned to you on Twitter about the whole TV thing. And I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Okay, cool. And then also too, you can notice that if you want to use 1080 or 4K on this camera, now you can. So you can stop harassing me for these clips. So that'll be good. Okay, where do you want to go? Do you want to go first? Would you like
It is,
to?
by the way, pulling 1080p. I don't think I use 4K on Riverside. I don't really trust it as much to actually get it as quality. It's not worth it, especially since I don't necessarily want to do 4K video. The only reason why I would ever do 4K is like if I were to export this vertically, I would do it as 4K so I could put it into Opus and just have a little bit more crisp clips. So that's work. So I've been doing some interesting workarounds with Opus, and this really goes for any tool. This isn't actually like because of Opus. It's just because of the actual physics of how repurposing works. When you are taking this horizontal canvas, and even if us are side by side, which is probably how it's going to look like on the YouTube video, especially if we're side by side, the export in Riverside takes a very small sliver of both of us to do 50% of the screen, right? And so that means we're losing out on this poster here. We're losing out on all my stuff on the shelf, or your Spider-Man mask, for example, right? And so those are decorations. Those are part of our background. My hand gestures are pretty wide. I'm actually kind of outside the frame right now. And so what I generally do is I export this twice, once horizontally, once vertically. So that way I could do a high resolution vertical, toss that into Opus or any kind of clipping tool, and it'll have more of our actual viewport of our cameras in the actual repurposed output.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Hmm.
So
First and foremost, I've been doing more live streams. So I've been talking about how, you have short form, long form content, then you have live content. And I've been doing short and long for a long time. My one skill as a creator is lacking is the live. I think conversely for you might have been like short, for example, but you started doing it over the last year. And so we've been like both trying to get out of our, limited ranges and just try to improve as creators. And so I've been live streaming almost every day on my Xbox to Twitch. And while I'm not doing camera, I am doing microphone using these headphones as like a little mic piece. It sounds pretty good. And that way I can engage with the audience and stuff like that if someone happens to show up. But it is only one destination, so that's one that we could talk about as multi-streaming. And then I've also been doing live streaming on Substack, but I think I'm going to stop doing that, and we can talk about that in a second too.
love it. So What do you think about Substack? I know you did a couple follow-up things about it. Your thoughts?
I still think Substack is the second best platform when it comes to like blogging, right? Or newsletters. Ghost is still going to be the best in my opinion. I really had Paragraph highly ranked for a while, but it really has gone downhill, I feel like, especially when it comes to the interface. They've been trying to improve it, but I think it actually kind of degraded the uniqueness of the platform. I tried out Beehive again this past week out of frustration just to see if they have anything similar to Substack, and it's not good. Like all the things I've been talking about with Beehive over the years, I stand by them. It's still not good. And so it's interesting to think about like these platforms, they have their benefits, but Substack has a unique position to be the all-in-one platform, which is the first time I can say that in a long time. Because really, I tried doing it with WordPress with custom post types, and that sort of worked, but it was very clunky, and WordPress breaks every 5 minutes, and so it doesn't work. Ghost, you can't really do more than one content type. So even if you have podcasts on there, which some Ghost themes allow, it kind of replaces a lot of the time your blog post, unless you have a special custom routes, which I did have, but it's complicated and it doesn't really work very well. And then so Substack can do video and audio together alongside your written content. And that's really fascinating how to present it. It's not like the most perfect. Obviously, some custom solutions like on Gary Vee website or whatever might be a better display of the video content next to the written content. The Substack has a pretty decent UI on the front end. But for some reason, on the back end, things keep being a little bit funky when it comes to videos. When I've been doing live streams, there's been extra pieces at the end of it appended. So essentially, it's not ending the stream when I end my stream. And so there's been like 1 to 2 minutes at the end of it, which isn't a huge deal, but that hurts watch time on YouTube or like Spotify. And more importantly than that, there was one live stream that was like 20 minutes long at the end. And I was like, this is weird. Like, it was like a 40-minute video, despite the fact I only streamed for like 22 minutes. And so I literally had to like, I was already downloading and editing it anyways, luckily. But if I had just posted that without thinking about that, that could have been really, honestly, pretty bad.
Have other people noticed this? Have you brought this to their attention? What happened?
I've tried talking to people on Substack notes about it, but not many people have responded. I tried talking a little bit on Reddit, and then I've reached out to the Substack team 4 times through the customer support. I've tried talking to them on Threads and Twitter, and obviously on Substack notes, and even like went on their YouTube channel just to see if I can leave a comment, and all their comments are turned off. And so it's like there's no support whatsoever, and it's like what is going on here? Not to mention too, one of my biggest issues, Doc. Those are more gripes, right? And even the extended video at the end is more of a gripe. I've had video posts just not go to YouTube like it's supposed to. It'll say that it went to YouTube on Substack side and not on YouTube side. And so I had to like repost it, despite the fact Substack said they sent it over. And they never send the thumbnail over, which is frustrating. Even when I use the thumbnail zip tool to make it 2 MB, it's still like not going over.
Interesting. Interesting. So, out of 10, what would you rate the platform right now?
I want to say 7, but probably closer to 6.5.
Okay.
And I would probably rate like Ghost at an 8.
Okay. Okay.
And considering that those are my top 2 platforms, everything else is below that.
Yeah. Understandable. Understandable.
Don't get me started on Medium.
No, no, no. Let's not. No, that's going to be a
So,
whole other hour rant.
yes. So it's interesting though, and that's one of those things where I was really inclined towards Substack, and I still am going to use it. I think I actually made a post right before this call today where I'm basically saying, like, I wanted to do daily content on Substack. I want to grow on there, and I want to grow in general. So by posting on there daily, that would also make a daily podcast and daily uploads to YouTube. So that was kind of the point behind it. That's why I wanted to post so much, right? And then it's also getting sent out via email. Although I felt conflicted about doing a daily email. I don't think that a lot of people like that, especially since I am being very teachy, and so some people might not want a teachy-based email subscription all the time. So I might just go back down to a weekly cadence. And what's really interesting is that even though this brand spun off of the PolyTools brand on my website, right, my main website, I didn't stop that newsletter, if that makes sense. In fact, I actually went back this past week and started adding more posts to all of my different tags on my website, made sure like every tag had a new post, because some of them hadn't been like posted in since like a year ago. And I was like, okay, this needs to be updated here and there. And I think I'm going to keep doing the PolyTools digest alongside the content Polymath, despite the fact they're technically the same brand.
All right. All right. Good times. Good times.
Yeah.
Um, it's almost, I guess, are we in the last quarter of the year yet? Or was that starting when?
October, I think.
Yeah.
October,
So,
November, December.
yeah. So we're getting ready to go. We're at the last part of Q3 going into Q4.
Yeah.
Have you started thinking about what you're planning to do? I can't believe this year went fast.
No,
This
no,
year
it
went
really
really
did.
fast.
Well, not February. February was really slow.
February. I don't even remember February. What's going
Yeah,
on in
because it was a
February?
blur. I mean, January and February was pretty slow time. It's interesting though because I have been doing some interesting moves this week. I keep saying interesting, I don't know why. But I wanted to make a clipping channel on Instagram for both of my podcast shows and on YouTube. So I made 2 new channels, which is kind of a big deal for me because I was kind of debating about it in my head for a long time. But I'm gonna go ahead and reschedule all of my thousands of podcast clips, shorts
Mm.
on these platforms. I skipped TikTok for now, and then I'm also going to go back into Opus and throw in all my interviews and make long form or mid form medium length clips as well.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And then what's the goal? And now, have you already told the audience about where you're just on a conference and everything like that? Being
So no, one thing that's pretty new for I need to edit that video. Now that I think about it, I was hosting a panel this week for the polymathic researchers, and so a lot of people in this channel probably didn't know about that because it's more related to my other channel. But it was really interesting, and it's the first time I ever got to be a lead or on a panel and basically presenting on stage. It was digital, but it was still one of those things where that was really fun. I've hosted a lot of people on my show as an interviewer, but not necessarily a panelist and that kind of thing. And I thought that was really cool. First step towards doing that at Vid Summit or Podcast Movement.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
And we're both going to Vid Summit, I think, actually here soon.
This is true. This is going to be in October, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
October 7th, something like that.
I talked to the Uscreen. I was talking to Rob from Uscreen, so I think
Mhm.
doing something there. Got to talk to a couple other
Also, you must need
people.
to link up. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Do you
I
know
love
Rob?
Rob. Yeah, I love
You
Rob.
know Rob. So I think I'll find out more details when we're going. Of course, he used to be at was it TubeBuddy back in the day
Mhm.
before he went to Uscreen. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And I'm talking to people with Tube Spanner too. It seems pretty cool. Interested to see if that tool improves more so in the near future. I'm kind of excited about that because there needs to be more tools on the market, I think, especially at this point in time with TubeBuddy kind of going down the tube and then vidIQ not really having much of an IQ. So
Oh, these puns are out of control. Out of control. Are you using 1 of 10 or not really?
mm, I need to. I think I need to. I need to play
I
around with more of these tools, to be honest.
I like it better than Spotter Studio. You know, I
Yeah.
went back and forth with it. I am going to be testing out Nano Banana
Mhm.
today and
You haven't
tomorrow.
sent me that, boy. You haven't sent me
See?
that.
Hey, listen.
I will
No one is
say,
saying.
1 of 10 podcast has gotten my attention a number of
Hmm,
times, actually. Like they've come up on my feed, and I've watched them a number of times.
they're good. They just did like a 4 or 6 hour masterclass. It's basically
Mm,
all their interviews that they all compiled into one. Interesting. I'm watching part of it. Yeah, but they're solid. They're
mm.
solid.
So the other topic I was mentioning earlier, and I sort of alluded to it with these new channels that I created, is basically as a content creator, it's interesting to think about your ecosystem as a whole. So reaching out, including everything. You don't start the yawning nonsense because we're all gonna start
No,
yawning.
no, I'm already
You got to
yawning.
think of all your platforms and socials and channels as part of your ecosystem. And what I've seen a lot of big brands do, and I think there was a Callaway video talking about this, where essentially, if you have a fruit company and they make content about different fruits, I was telling you this on the phone the other day, but just
Yeah.
for the audience's sake, the way to explain it is that, like, let's say they're trying to experiment with their content, see what works, see what's interesting, you have 3 videos about oranges, 3 videos about apples, and 3 videos about bananas. And their holistic brand will talk about all three. But let's say the banana ones pop off and they want to make more content about it. They would make a separate Instagram channel or YouTube channel talking specifically about bananas through their brand and that lens. And essentially, they're not really adding more work. They're more of just repurposing a lot of the time to that new channel. But that channel is only about bananas. And so people who like that can now focus more on that. And while there might be a new team eventually, like if they have an actual corporation level division, they might make a new team for bananas, especially if it's very successful. But I think that even as a content creator, we're gonna have different series and sub series. Like this brand doctors series has kind of happened. This could be its own channel as well. And maybe it should, but I do kind of like it being on just like my Polytools channel, Content Polymath channel, anyways. But my point is, like, if this keeps growing, and it starts getting to the point where we have so many clips just from our brands here, maybe it should be another channel. And that's what I want people to thinking about there. And I even brought this up to you too. Not that I'm not on OnlyFans at all, right? But I've watched how some creators, especially the ones I've seen on do interviews, I was curious to see how they present themselves across different social media platforms. They have multiple different profiles because in case one of them gets eradicated, they can now have another backup or a backup of a backup to basically syndicate all their content to. And I think that a lot of them don't necessarily know how to batch content as much or use tools like New Link to syndicate to all these different platforms too. Had they had some of these automation tools, it might even be even better. But taking that same mindset of just not putting all your eggs in one basket that the OF creators have to use, and the same mindset that these big corporations are trying to build their own TV network through their content, and finding somewhere in the middle, I think is very key. Because as a solo creator, we only have so much bandwidth.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And so, what are your thoughts trying to do this as a solo creator? Like, you have a limited bandwidth. How would you actually do this where you're not feeling overwhelmed and doing this
Mhm.
systematically?
I definitely think it's more of an advanced thing. You have to be at a certain point where, I mean, obviously, if you have a team behind you, then you're probably at that point. But more than likely, even if you have a couple people who are like editing or doing work for you, you're still mostly by yourself. And so I think even the mid tier creators are probably capable of doing it or thinking about setting it up. So there's certain seeds you have to start sowing. And I think I did it pretty poorly, despite the fact I had tried planning it out pretty well. But that was mainly because I was doing too much other stuff in life, like karaoke and swimming, that distracted me from content, if that makes sense. But working on 3 different channels, the gaming channel, the content channel, and then the main channel, that makes it a lot harder to diversify as much. But when you start to get to a point where you can batch things ahead of time and really, like we talked about at the beginning of this year, the content blitz, for example, really getting a whole bunch of content made ahead of time. I think that's kind of how you go about doing it. 'Cause then you can focus on doing the experiments while your baseline is already batched and scheduled.
I like that. I like that a lot. And so how has this changed? Has this changed your position of what you want to do, or you're still on track on exactly the type of content that you're trying to create? Tell me more.
I'm still like, at the end of the content blitz earlier this year, I didn't finish all the posts I wanted to get out for my blog, for example. And like the Poly Tools Digest that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, there's like 25 more top 3, top 5 posts about different tool categories that I want to make. And I even threw in a couple other posts that I have been working on for ages in there as well. I actually have a tab open right now that's about like here's a list of tools in every category that I think is overrated, right? And so project management, I think it's Notion, right? I think Notion's pretty overrated in a lot of ways. And so I just have like a quick couple paragraphs about each tool, why I think it's overrated, and figure maybe it might helpful to some people who are like wanting to know just what I thought about these different tools. But things like that, getting those posts out are very important to me. And I think it's going to help get a lot more attention to these different brands. And that's also the reason why I'm on Substack too, so I can just kind of automate some of it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, where would you like to go from here?
I want to know your opinion and thoughts on it. How would you do it?
It depends. I think
You have multiple channels
actually,
too.
yeah, yeah, I've got multiple channels. I think it's okay. So, I definitely agree. So, I mean, there's a whole other. I think we're doing a whole. I think we've talked about it. But okay, so let's talk about the basics. I think having multiple channels is always good, just in case something happens.
Mhm.
I think you can be more experimental and test things by having multiple channels. So if something pops off, you can be ready to pivot and be there. I think it kind of depends on the goal of the channel too. If it's going to be more of like a high visibility, you're trying to go for more views versus more conversions, and you're trying to do it towards a business type of thing. So I think
Mhm.
it's, do you want to be a creator that you're going to be building that audience, figure out what you're going to sell and go from there? Or do you already have an expertise? You're using Google and YouTube as a funnel to your services.
Mhm.
I think it depends on those things. For me, because it's more um service based and now it's going to be launching a community, I'm going to have less channels unless I'm testing things or I'm just like curious and I just want to put out content anyway. I just like creating content. So like I want multiple channels. So I think it depends on that. The reason I'm hesitant on like explaining more, there's two posts I've really been watching. Do you know the stream professor? What's his name? Epos Fox.
Oh,
I always
Epasok, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been around for a minute, like years and years before like Alpha Gaming and all those things. And he just I'm not sure if you saw his new video. He's kind of just burned out and trying to rethink like what does he want, and his subscriber count is just not what he needs and all these things. And it kind of goes back into like, does subscriber counts even matter anymore and all of these things. We've been seeing that topic. And so it's a long-winded of way of saying if you like multiple things and you want to just document it, just make multiple channels and just
Yeah.
upload them when you need to. But the whole how many subscribers and all of these things, it kind of just depends on the goal and what you need for your channel. And after going to like CEX and a couple of things, I'm like more like bullish on this like route again. So yeah, I'm going to work on more articulating it and backing up numbers, but
Mhm.
that's the feeling that I'm getting. Subscribers are less and less needed, but you
Mhm.
have to be laser focused on like what you're doing with a brand right now.
I definitely yeah, because it's more about what kind of content are you making rather than the subscribers, because people are gonna find you through the topic, not so much through their subscriptions. I don't even check my subscriptions page anymore, really.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to think about. Big E also had a similar situation with Epos Vox, where he's basically just redoing a whole new channel, like doing a vlog channel now or something like that. And I think it's really stupid to like make a new channel if you're just gonna focus purely on that in that regard. Where it's like, hey, if you're gonna change your niche, but then just keep it on the same channel, keep your subscribers there, and people are just still gonna see you more for a while. Because you might go back to doing that old niche, but you probably won't at that point, at least not for a long time. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just so many things, and then it comes back to like the whole burnout aspect and everything like that. I'd
Take a
rather
break.
stay a smaller creator relatively, but like honestly, so there is a guy, used to do like League of Legends, and then he
Mhm.
just has been a variety streamer. And what they were saying was his numbers when he streams, he can stream any game, and it's not the biggest numbers in the world, but he can have 1,900 views
Mhm.
whenever he does. Versus Double Lift, which is a famous League of Legends player for years, he was talking about if he does not play League of Legends, everyone leaves,
Hmm.
similar to like Ninja. Like Ninja, if he's not streaming Fortnite, like most of his crowd leaves. And they were talking about like them yearning to be like this other guy that has a smaller but captive audience in whatever he does. And it's just so funny because then on the flip side, people are like, but I want to have the numbers like Ninja. And Ninja's like, I can't stand what I'm doing and I shouldn't have gone like more kid friendly and all this stuff. So
Mm.
to me, after watching like Epop Vox and like all this stuff, I'm I'm settling in more to being like, yeah, like I know what I like, I know what I'm doing. Could I grow faster? Yes, but every time I just don't have the team to be fully invested in like the time and energy on creating the perfect title,
Mhm.
thumbnail. And if I do, I don't produce enough and then I get frozen and stagnant instead of
You're a lot
just
more perfectionist,
putting
I
out.
think, even than I am too.
Say it again. I can't hear what you say.
You're more of a perfectionist than I am too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, I feel like I'm only middle of the pack. Some of these people, they're like, "I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do," like I'm just like, "Bro," after a while, like, stop. But I find that, like, now I know what tools I like, I know what I'm talking about because some people are like, "Well, you can't talk about this kinda auto AI stuff," and I just disagree. I
Mhm.
think, like, a lot of times people are like, "You need to stay more with N8N and stuff like that." I don't get like, if I'm not excited about it, I just don't wanna talk about it. That's all.
Yeah.
In that lane. That doesn't mean I can talk about anything and it will garner attention, but like in within reason in the genre that I can go into. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna do that. So
I've definitely pushed the genre limits of my, like, personal brand channel, the PolyInnovator channel. This channel, I think I've really tried to keep it, like, tools and, like, content creator tools and content creators, and that's about it. And this whole show, we just yap about content creation anyways.
yeah.
But it's like, I think that's why I'm focusing more on this one at this point, because I want to grow more faster. I think this channel is gonna be the fastest, even more than my gaming channel, to be honest.
Mm,
The gaming
mm.
channel's too variety, I think, for it to grow as fast. If I were to focus niche down more on Pokemon, and yeah, which is what I was planning on doing, but I'm enjoying State of Decay right now, and that's why I'm streaming it.
Yeah, yeah. And like one of the guys, I think I'm still gonna do it. They said I shouldn't really, but like I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's a Twitch channel where the guy is basically just having how fast can Chat GPT-5 do Pokemon Red? Like,
Mm,
and it's just streaming what it's doing. And I find that fascinating. Like
yeah,
they're like, oh, it's not enough. I'm still gonna do it. Like I just
yeah.
that's just how I feel. I'll send
With
you the link too, but
Feel free. I
let me
think that there's
see.
interesting things when it comes to streaming too, which is one reason why I've been trying to do it more. There is this I saw an update. I might have shared it to you at one point. I'm not sure, but because some of the big YouTubers were sharing it on Twitter, but YouTube's finally going to be fixing their live stream studio to have like a vertical and horizontal canvas side by side. And I think that
Hmm.
would make a lot easier to syndicate to both. Because right now you have to basically you can do the automatic live streaming, just like do a connection, cool API, it's all working. If you want to do a secondary live stream at the same time, you have to get the stream key and copy it for every
Hmm.
single live stream that you do. And that's actually what I have to do with Substack. Substack has to do that. So every time I want to load in on Meld Studio or OBS, I have to go into Substack, start a live, copy the key, bring it over. And I just didn't want to do that for YouTube. Now that I've been doing it for Substack, I might be more open to doing it on YouTube. But I I couldn't get it to work the other day. I tried live streaming on YouTube after my frustration this week with Substack. And I just think that we need to have a bit more multi-streamers out there.
I feel you. No, no, I think so. I think so. Makes a lot of sense. I'm not streaming on X or Twitter right now because of all the things that are going on, but
Costs too
every
much
other,
too for a lot of these tools.
yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
It's interesting though. I was telling you a little bit about like actually, a year ago on this show, we were talking about multi-streaming and I was bringing up different tools and we brought it up and really like StreamYard is probably one of the easiest when you're just doing horizontal and if you have like a lifetime deal with them or you've locked in grandfather price, then sure. But I wouldn't recommend it to anybody new at this point, especially considering the lack of development from them. But there's not really many other options for podcasters. It's really interesting because there is Riverside. Technically, we're using it right now, but I don't really trust its live streaming capabilities for the most part. And then there's Ecamm, but that's only Mac only. And then you could do like OBS with Video Ninja, which is something I wanted to try with you at some point. I just didn't have it set up today.
What
I
was it
actually
called?
VDO Ninja. I've sent it to you before. It's VDO.ninja, and you essentially can have a process like we're doing right now, but in OBS.
Wait. Okay, I had to check that out. I forgot about that. Why aren't we trying? We've been talking about it for like a month. Descript. Why haven't we tried this? What's going on here?
Oh, well, you haven't sent me the link. I just assumed that we were using Riverside.
That's I don't like that, but that makes a lot of sense. I'll send it next time.
So, yeah, maybe next time we can do the scripts because I need to try out the script rooms. I think I've only really used Squadcast as a guest and I haven't ever used any of them as a host, really. But do they really do live streaming or is it just recording?
That's a great question. So let's see. Um,
I have been considering Streamlabs too. Like I did a process the other day, a live stream the other day, where I compared all of the live streaming tools on the markets and like not really compared, but just showcased them all. And I think that for a lot of people, they didn't know about most of these tools. So it'd be helpful. It's basically the de facto list of every single live streaming tool on the market. But what tool is the best one? Some people are saying Stream Elements plugin in OBS, cool. Maybe the Atom plugin in OBS. And it's like, no, if you want to do vertical and horizontal at the same time, you really need to have a syndication service. And Restream can only do horizontal, not to mention they're expensive. And the CEO is trash talking people online. So I don't really want to try them. And again, at least. So like Streamlabs seems to be the only option. Oh,
pretty
I tried
much.
I tried opening up that Twitch stream.
Oh,
Of
did you?
course it's denied. So
Yeah, of
I
course.
want to follow them before I forget.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Check it out. Let
GPT
me know what you think.
proposal.
Um, I think that's one of the things, right? So there are just I would say different categories. Did I tell you I met the Ecamm Live people when I was at the Kick conference?
No, but I'm not surprised. They're pretty all over the place. They're
Mm-hmm.
they're everywhere.
They're not bad. I would say Ecamm Live has come a long way in the last couple of years because I
Mm.
just stopped paying attention. I have a lifetime deal from them back in the
Oh
day.
wow.
But Ecamm Live, I feel like, is a nice alternative to um what's with that face?
The Amaranth Verge thing you sent me.
Oh yeah, that's what I got. Um the the if I'm not trying to pay for StreamYard, I think and you have to be using Mac as far as I know for Ecamm
Yeah,
Live.
Ecamm is only on Mac.
So that's an alternative and now you can, bring in guests, things like that. Seen some pretty impressive layers what people are doing. Um, so there's that. I also as we're talking and I'm not sure if we talked about this at all. You were talking about different channels. Because I have quite a few videos on my YouTube channel about creating video on demand, creating your own Netflix, and all these things. Someone from the Cayman Islands hit me up
Hmm.
And it's pretty funny. I get a lot of messages from different, I'd say, island countries, and they're trying to create their own basically um, local TV because they're saying that since 2019, local TV has like the funding went out. So a
Mm.
lot of people are hodgepodging together live streaming from other creators and basically putting together local television and streaming and just like Frankensteining it together. So it's pretty interesting. They're doing it. I cannot believe they're doing it with WordPress and Cloudflare streaming and all of this stuff. I was
Oh,
like, you're Frankensteining it together. I would not advise you doing this. There's
you screen for
five other
one
things.
things.
Yeah. I'm like, come on. You could be doing or VLoud. There's tons of ones that you could be using, but they're like, nope, we want this. I'm like, here's the downside. If you're going to try to scale or if people are really interested and what if other
Yeah.
people from, you know, ones from the Cayman Islands or relatives from other countries start watching your stuff, your whole system's going to crash because the bandwidth problems. They don't
Mhm.
want to hear it right now, but I thought it was a really interesting exercise of, like you were saying, creating your own platform and things like that. So that happened yesterday.
I think someone needs to rebuild Special.tv. That was a really interesting project. It was basically a video version of Substack way before Substack even had video, and I don't know, because it was one of the only alternatives I thought what could really compete with Uscreen. I think there used to be another tool besides Uscreen. Back when I was looking into it, like back in like 2018, I was looking at Uscreen and all these other tools, and I was trying to find ways of, experimenting and expanding my content ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, there is also Teuto is still around.
Hmm.
They're a European company. I always say European mentality is very different than like American. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, why aren't they doing X, Y, and Z?" They go on holidays. They have a small team. They're from
Yeah.
Italy. They're just like we like it's a different way of looking at it. So if you want the white glove like concierge service, you want like the people talking to you and like getting back very quickly in less than a day, okay, go with Uscreen. But it's pretty pricey.
Hmm.
And the base model keeps going up. They just got sold, so there's just expect changes. Like I always tell people, don't think that they're going to get sold and it's the price is going to get cheaper or things are going to happen. Usually when they get sold, a lot of their features where they're at, they're going to stay for a long time or if ever, because
Yeah.
now they're just rolled up into another company. To Uto, it's pay to play. So if you're not getting a lot of, um, depending on your storage, depending on your bandwidth, you're not going to pay a lot. And then when you start having high volume, you can start going to the 2K one where you can have a custom app and all those things. I have one of my brands on it right now, but it's something to consider.
And this is one reason why I like talking with you on the show, Doc, is that you and I like to push the limit and figure out or push the envelope of what could be done as a solo creator. What can we do? What tools are out there that can help us do this? I was thinking about like making a post about my tool stack, and right now with my issues with Substack, I can't really like make that post. I don't think just yet because I don't trust it to be stable enough for other people yet. I don't want to suggest people to use it for that reason and it not be stable. But for example, the plan was, you make a video, you post it to Substack, it cuts the audio out, makes into a podcast. I usually write my blog post underneath it, but you could take this transcript, which it generates for you, and put it into ChatGPT to reorganize it into that. Boom, you have all three made. And then it also generates a few clips for you, which then you can share. You have to copy the text and then share it, but you share those clips, 2 out of 3 of them or something like that, onto the Substack notes feed, so you can promote it before it actually goes out. And then once you hit publish, it'll then email out to your subscribers. Cool. And then on top of that, if you have a new link automation set up, it can then syndicate across LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Threads.
Yeah.
And then you have all these different platforms saying, like, hey, here's a new post. And then on top of that, you have essentially can make little quote images from the post. You can also go in and make clips from your Opus Clip tool too. That's what I'd prefer, honestly, for vertical content, anyways. And it's just interesting the combinations you could have with just those three tools and how much content you can create as one person. Granted, I still think there's a skill level issue that a lot of people don't realize they're kind of low level at. I'll talk to some YouTubers who have 200,000 subscribers, but they just have no idea how to organize all their content planning, right? They don't use Notion, they don't use Obsidian like we do. And that makes a huge difference in their ability to output things, having that system in place. And then on top of that, they don't know how to make podcasts or blog posts or even shorts or short form content. And it's just something they just haven't got around to being skilled in those areas as a creator. That's one reason why I push it so hard that I think every creator needs to put in a few hundred reps in each of them.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think, yeah, absolutely. I can't add to anything about that.
It is interesting to note, by the way, your mic is very sensitive. So, like, when you turn a little bit away, it really does cut out quite a bit. But you sound very crisp whenever you're
That
close to it.
that is very interesting. So I just redid all of the audio settings on this too. Some of the producers from Mighty, I'm working with them because they're one of the sponsors. They're making tweaks on my setting, and that's why I have like
Mhm.
different lighting now and the audio. So that's interesting that you mentioned it. So thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. I'm working on it. Yeah.
I definitely have been playing around with more. I just kind of changed the subject, by the way. I've been thinking about playing around with more game streaming stuff and the multi streaming stuff, which is why I've been looking at the tools again. One thing I wanted to note on this episode, since we were talking about having multiple channels, I have a gaming channel and two different podcast channels. When you're trying to multi-stream, you really can't set up your tool for both use cases. I think there's probably some like, oh, maybe an OBS nerd who's like, yeah, you can, but I don't want to have 50 different, scenes and 100 different sources. It's just not ideal. And so I was thinking, like, be having a tool stack. On the other hand, I think I told somebody from Meld actually I would probably use Meld and one of the other tools combined, so that way I could have one setup for my podcast and one setup for my gaming. And I'm really thinking, like, right now, I probably will set up Streamlabs for gaming. I think that's probably one of the only ones. Maybe Lightstream. Lightstream does seem kind of interesting, but I'd rather have things set up on my computer. So if I want to stream from my computer, I have a capture card and everything. I have all my Switch dock and two computers, and probably bring in my Xbox at some point. Just hook it all up here and stream from here. But yeah, that's interesting to think about.
There. Hmm. What do you think? This is something I was going to ask you actually afterwards, but I'll just ask you now. Do you? So, okay, let me back up. At CX, I was talking to different creators. All right, let me just,
You back up
I'll cut
again?
to the point. I'll cut to the point. I'm going to start creating a quarterly physical magazine,
Mm.
and it's going to be prestigious. It's going to be high quality, and it's going to be called Obsession. And it's basically profiling different creators and businesses and understanding or knowing about them besides of what you know about them. Like, say, for instance, you might know about like Justin Moore is a sponsorship magnet, but a lot of people don't know he used to be in a punk rock band and did all this stuff in LA. So it would be
Mhm.
something like that. There was another creator, he actually did powwow.com, which is amazing. It's all the powwows for Native Americans around the United States, which is just, I didn't know existed.
Mm.
It's like 13,000 videos on his channel, which is just amazing. But he was wearing all these shirts, and I was like, it looked like a Hawaiian shirt from like afar. When you get to close to it, it's different prints of Disney characters. And the point is, I was like, what kind of shirt is this? It's a like niche like clothing line called Roosevelt, and it's a Facebook group where people buy and sell these like rare shirts, like they're collectibles, like $500 a shirt,
Mm.
like things like that. So I say that to say all of those things. Do you have a list of obscure YouTube channels or creators that you watch that give you inspiration that's not in your vertical, but you take a lot of cues or
Two
uh,
that come to mind are
inspiration?
actually more gaming related. ETA Prime, who's a pretty big content creator now at this point, but he started making a lot of content around different mini PCs and retro gaming handhelds. And there's also Retro Game Core, which makes a lot of videos about different handhelds. And I was literally, I think I sent you one actually before this call because that's what I was watching while I was waiting for you. And it's just interesting to think about, like, these different channels have to make content about these new handhelds that are coming out, right? Especially these retro gaming handhelds. I'll just pull one up. Pro tip for content creators: get wireless headphones, because I have had so many cases where I had a wired headphone and I almost pulled my computer off. gaming handhelds like this little Retroid Pocket. Honestly, there's better ones out now, but I really like, well, the price like, performance ratio is pretty good on this, and the size is pretty nice. But my point is, I was curious, hey, what games can actually run on this, especially since I don't have a whole bunch of ROMs because I acquire mine legally, and I wanted to make sure if I was like gonna, dump one of my own ROMs, like, is it worth doing all that process? And so I watched this one channel, TK Retro or something like that, T Red, T Red Retro. I think what it was. I'll have to find the link here in a second. But essentially, he did like 2-hour live streams, just going through different games that people requested and testing it and see if it worked on that console. Yeah, T Red with 2 Ds Retro 533, and he's gotten pretty decent amount of traction. He has like 3K subscribers now, but when I found him, he was, I think, less than 1K. And it's just crazy, just like how much content he was putting out just to test different handhelds that he was using. And these are the kind of channels that I'm watching because they're filling a gap. They're filling a niche. Even ETA Prime, which is huge now, is still filling a pretty unique niche talking about mini PCs that no one else is talking about. In fact, my mini PC brand, right, the one I had to return my main PC to, but they also sent me this one to make a video about. When they sent it to me, I was like, what should I do with this? Because they didn't tell me they wanted me to review it or use it or something like that. They just, not until like 3 weeks later. So I actually reached out to ETA Prime because he was one of the only people to do videos for that brand, right? Because he was the only one fulfilling that niche. Sorry, it was a
That's
long-winded
awesome.
answer, but I see. Yeah.
I like that, actually. I'm looking up a couple of these channels. I was talking to someone that just there's so much there's so many types of content out there that you can find a vertical, you can find one that resonates with you, and you can
Mhm.
copy a lot of their format. And just like gaming, it's just if your audience isn't into gaming, you can take a lot of their cues or their structure of video that could work for you and your niche.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to mention this again because I've been screaming from the top of my lungs for the last 2 years. You should be multi-streaming, right? If you're going to be streaming, you should be streaming to multiple platforms. I saw actually a clip of Valkyrae. I don't think it was Pokemon. I think it was Valkyrae, because she was livid about how like Twitch has been trying to give everybody crap about multi-streaming, and they've been shooting themselves in the foot. I've been saying this a lot for the past couple months, over and over again. Like Twitch is going to implode if they keep doing this stupid crap that they keep trying to pull. Like they're basically going after people who are multi-streaming, and it's just like, dude, at this point you are not the best platform to be streaming on. YouTube or Kick would be, even TikTok, honestly. Like that's how I'd rank it. It's like YouTube, Kick, TikTok, maybe switch those two depending on the use case or niche, and then Twitch, right? And Twitch is starting to lose foothold there. And she was like, if they try to ban me for multi-streaming, then I'm just going to go to YouTube or Kick. That's what she said, and she's one of the biggest streamers, right? So what was my point? I lost my train of thought,
See,
but
you went so hard on that.
I was
Just
just so mad, you know? Oh, no, so the multi-streaming thing, I had only seen Pokemon YouTubers for the longest time. They were the only ones streaming horizontally and vertically at the same time on YouTube, right? And I presume they were multi-streaming to other platforms as well. And I was so astounded by that because people are still doing like Twitch and TikTok. They're doing both of those. That's cool. At least I'm seeing more of that. But I had maybe only seen maybe a Call of Duty or Apex streamer every once in a while maybe do that. Like, there was one that came to mind. I don't remember his name right now though. But there was only one of that other niche, basically, right? Just yesterday or the day before, I saw Nick Nimmin. He was doing
yep.
horizontal and vertical at the same time on YouTube. So now I know it's finally disseminating. I mean, I've also told him for the last couple of years too. People have been doing this. So maybe he heard me and started doing himself, or maybe he saw the same thing, started doing himself. Either way, I'm just proud of him for doing that so early on. I still think it's early on right now. And I know that at some point, podcasters are finally going to like realize the importance of live streaming. I still, I have a tangent. I don't know if you want to go into it.
Do it.
I have been talking to some podcast people because I had a miss podcast movement this year. So I reached out to a lot of them prior to going or wanting to go. And some of them weren't going, which is interesting. Like half of them weren't actually going. Half my podcast network wasn't going this year. But that's a different topic for another day. But the ones that were going, I talked to them and I saw content from some of them that they made at the conference. And I was talking to them. And it just astounds me just how biased a lot of their view is. And some of the big names in the space were talking to some people doing panels last year, and people were really unhappy. Like the audio pure, like what's the word? The pure audio podcast people, right? Only audio. That's how you do podcasts. Podcasts are only audio people, right? Those type of people were really mad that the rise of video podcasts was taking over the space, despite the fact that's how people have been growing for the last 5 years. And it was interesting to me because I come from a video first platform like perspective. I want to make my video first. I actually started podcasting before making videos, but that was because I was too nervous to make the video. Now that I can do all three, I prefer written, video, audio. But I think a lot of other people actually do video first, then the other two after that. Audio is a secondary thought to the podcasts, the video podcasts. And it's just really interesting to me the bias that a lot of these podcasters still have. They don't know about a lot of these tools. Like even Opus Clip is still kind of obscure to some of them. And it's just crazy to me
That's
that
wild.
they're not looking outside their niche or area of expertise. If they looked at the gamers, a lot of these podcasters would blow up if they just modeled after those content creators.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be very fascinating what people are going to be doing in the next couple of months and into 2026. I can't believe it's going to be 2026.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's, they talk about this. This is something that years ago in like The Hustle and everything, Chung that used to write for them,
Mhm.
like the bundling and unbundling of everything. And I
Yeah.
think we're at like an inflection point of right now of what are we going to do? I think it's unbundling a lot of things. And yeah, it's just fascinating with content and like it's just a shift. And another thing is too, I cannot believe I've been to so many conferences and these creators are so afraid of AI.
Yeah.
It is wild
Especially since
how
I feel like the people who accepted them first were some of the other creators. Like it was literally creators who went in. I was like, oh, I love AI that I've seen. The people who love
yeah,
it the most. I mean,
yeah, it's very fascinating that I'm seeing a lot of pushback and people like trying to rethink their business and like this. I'm like, I don't think people are really understanding how to utilize it or like what to do with it. It's something that I was not expecting.
mhm.
So, we'll see what happens. But I think it's now's the time to experiment with everything, different formats, different technology. Um, and you can do so much, even with manufacturing. I've been seeing a lot of creators. You can do a lot of micro runs of if you're trying to release your own products, what you can be doing overseas. I'm just fascinating to see what happens in the next year or really the next 3 years. I'd say like these. Yeah, I mean, how many years has been since COVID? I think the next 5 will be really interesting too. That's wild. That's just wild to me. So, I think now it's the perfect time to be a creator, and
Mhm.
yeah, hopefully I'll have more details in the coming weeks. What I plan to do for 2026.
Well, just to wrap up the topics we were just talking about today and the things that you're talking about there, I think a lot of people still lack the perspective in the macro scale when it comes to, and this is not an ego thing that me saying or anything like that. It's just something I keep seeing. Is like you're saying, like people are scared of AI. I've met people who make music who are scared of AI. They think AI is disgusting. Same with artists too, graphic artists. They think AI is disgusting. I get it, especially since a lot of the companies were stealing art. That I completely understand. I empathize with that. Like they're stealing art, like to train their AIs. That's a different story. But AI generated art is not a bad thing. And I think a lot of people still have that misconception that it is bad. It's going to be replacing a lot of artists. I don't think people realize that there is such a huge need for more content, for more art, for more niches to get filled. And this
Hmm.
is just going to accelerate that fact. And there's a lot of content creators out there already around the world. We're seeing a lot more. I don't know. Have you seen this guy where it's a bodybuilder in Palestine, right? In Gaza.
Hmm. This
And
sounds familiar, but keep going. Keep
well,
going.
he has like 500,000 subscribers now or followers on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And he's, surviving on leaf wrapped rice. And, he's doing a workout in a crumbling building. In some of his videos, you can hear a bomb going off in the background. And it's crazy. And the thing is, he's not doing it to get attention per se. He's bodybuilding still because that's what he did before all the nasty events have happened, right?
Hmm.
And so he's just trying to have a semblance of normalcy, and he was just documenting that process. But like even in a situation where he's at, he's still able to make content. I have a friend who's in Uganda. She's a journalism person, right? That's her expertise. I can definitely see her using a tool like Substack or something like that, starting to do like live reports or even just video reports and obviously like written underneath it from her relatively lacking of internet area kind of thing. And people around the world are doing that. More and
Yeah.
more people are going to have more and more access to the internet, meaning more creators. And then on top of that, more AI is going to be making more content. There's still, even with those two things happening, there's still niches to fill. There's still opportunity. Is it going to be more saturated? Sure. But if you know where to look, you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am maybe we'll do it now or after we stop recording. I'm using Gemini Nano Banana, and I am I I'm not sure if I should show you this right now or I'll show you off screen. But like to your point, a lot of creators, my wife is an artist and everything, and she doesn't like AI to a point, but I was saying that there are tons of people that have no artistic abilities like myself. And guess what? You
Mm,
hate when I asked you, like, can you do this thing? Like,
yeah.
you hate it. Like, that's why these things exist. Like it's something that you would not like to do. And you're giving the power to someone that has an idea or a concept and they can use this thing. It's not saying that they're the next Van Gogh or Leonardo da Vinci. They're just a person that has a vision that is lacking a skill and
Mhm.
can use this type of type of tool to get to the next level what they're trying to do. So if you want, I'll show you. But it was like she's
Maybe
like,
next time. But
yeah,
just touching on that real quick, I was a couple years ago when I was playing with AI the most. I was trying to build a game, right? Trying to build my own creature catching game, monster taming game, and in my experience of doing spriting or any kind of 2D graphics work for video games, I could take a already drawn picture with the permission of the artist. I always reach out and whatnot, and I could turn that into a sprite, but I could never really make a sprite or picture from scratch myself. I could do the transformation process. I could do that aspect, the pixelization of it and making animations almost and stuff like that. But I couldn't do the actual initial ideation, right? I
hmm
had the ideas, I would write them down. I could not draw those ideas. And I had about 100 ideas for different creatures, and I was able to throw them into AI or even just like play around with AI, make a whole bunch of pictures, and see if any of those pictures related to any of the ideas I had. So I started sorting them into these different folders for each creature, and then I could then take those auto-generated concepts and then remake them. I was planning on using like an AI artist doing it, but I might just do it myself eventually too, into the actual sprites and characters that I need. Right. And so I'm just using AI for that one step of the process, but then still using human ingenuity for the rest of it. And then that's kind of what you're saying earlier too, is like there is more nuance to this too.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, same point. Yep,
Before we wrap up, I just want to say this wasn't intentional. I have two lights going on. I put up this poster before my Polymath panel last week, or not, this past week, and I don't know if you can see where the light is, but the light is perfectly placed, and that wasn't intentional. It just happened naturally. So, it's cool.
that's funny. That's funny.